I wouldn't have been able to make it anyway. I wouldn't have been able to make it anyway. Do you know what this means, guys? What does it mean? Smash that like button if you want to know what this sentence means. Actually, it could have several different meanings. Okay, now look at it. What is the hardest part of this sentence? I wouldn't have been able to make it anyway. What does this mean, make it? That's the hard part of this sentence, right? Make it can have different meanings. Okay, so let's look at some different meanings of make it. It could mean arrive. Like, look at this. I didn't make it in time for her speech. Okay, imagine if your sister is graduating and she's giving a speech in front of the whole school. Okay, you could say, I didn't make it in time for her speech. That means you didn't arrive in time for her speech. Okay, it could also mean attend. So, I don't think I'll be able to make it on Friday. Okay, imagine if you are having a party on Friday and you invite me. And I could say, I don't think I'll be able to make it on Friday. Make it means attend. I don't think I'll be able to attend your party. Guys, are we recording? Yes, we are. Thank you for joining me today. It's a pleasure to have you here. So make it could also mean to make something. You make something. I don't think I'll be able to make it on Friday. Like, imagine if you ask me to make you a cake. And I say, sure, I'd be happy to make you a cake. I'm working all day Friday, so I don't think I'll be able to make it on Friday, but maybe on Saturday I'll have some time to make the cake. Okay? So, could mean that. It could mean to succeed, okay? So make it can mean to succeed in life. Unfortunately, he never made it in life. So that means he never reached the level of success that he wanted, or maybe that other people wanted for him. He never made it in life. Have you made it in life? Let me know in the comments if you have made it, guys. Have you succeeded in life? Yeah, I don't know. It can mean that. It could also mean to survive. Okay, my dog is sick. I really hope he makes it. Okay, if your dog dies, you could say he didn't make it. He didn't make it. Okay, so this is a very common. Make it is a very common way we talk about death or survival. Okay, like if your grandpa is having a surgery, let's say brain surgery, and it's really risky, you could say, I hope he makes it. Or I'm not sure if he's going to make it. If he does survive, you could say, he made it. My grandpa made it. He survived. If he doesn't, if he dies, you could say he didn't make it. He didn't make it. Okay, so it could mean that, right? So if we look at this sentence again, I wouldn't have been able to make it anyway. What do you think it means? It could have different meanings. Okay, it could have several different meanings. Okay, so for example, it could mean this. We wouldn't have been able to make it anyway because the flight was canceled. Okay. We wouldn't have been able to make it anyway because the flight was canceled. So, guys, notice the word would. These words, like, why are we choosing these words to put these words together? It's because we're trying to communicate a certain idea and we need to use this English grammar. We need to use these words to put together an idea of how to express this, okay? So notice the word anyway. So would we use this in hypothetical situations? Okay, so a hypothetical situation is a situation that isn't, it's just, we're talking about possibilities. It's not real, okay? It's a kind of possible. So keep that in mind. Be able to, that's also something that's challenging for English learners to kind of understand when to use this. Be able to, that verb. And then look at this word anyway. So why are we choosing these particular words and putting them together in a sentence? Well, I'm going to explain it to you. Imagine you are in this car and you're trying to get to your friend's wedding. Okay, it's in a different country. It's way over in Europe, and you're here in Canada. So you're driving to the airport to catch a flight, and you're going to go fly over to Europe. Okay. Now, while you're driving to the airport, your car breaks down. Your car breaks down. Ah, no, what's going to happen? We're going to miss our flight. Oh, no. And so you text your friends over in Europe, our car broke down. I don't know if we're going to make it to the airport. Okay. But then you find out that the flight got canceled. Okay. The flight got canceled. So the fact that your car broke down didn't really affect the final destination, did it? It didn't affect the final outcome of the situation. You wouldn't have been able to make it anyway because the flight got canceled, right? You wouldn't have been able to attend their wedding anyway because the flight got canceled. Okay, that's why we're choosing the word anyway. Okay, so it basically means this. Even if we had been able to fix the car, we wouldn't have been able to make it anyway because the flight was canceled. The flight got canceled, right? So even if you had been able to fix the car and get to the airport on time, you wouldn't have been able to make it anyway. So that's why we're choosing would, right? Wouldn't have, because we're in a hypothetical. We're thinking, okay, if we had been able to fix the car, we weren't, but if we had been able to, then we still would not have been able to get to the wedding because the flight was canceled. Does that make sense? That's why we're kind of using the word would here. Okay, look at another example. We wouldn't have been able to make it anyway because our power went out. Okay, our power went out. That means the electricity in your house goes off. Okay, so what does this mean? We wouldn't have been able to make it because the power went out. Well, maybe you're trying to make a cake, guys. We're trying to make a cake. And we could say, oh no, we ran out of sugar. We ran out of sugar. Now we can't make the cake. And then if the electricity goes off, you could say, well, we wouldn't have been able to make it anyway because the power went out. And the oven is electric, right? You need electricity to make your oven work. At least here in Canada, most ovens are powered by electricity, not gas. Sometimes, some people do have a gas oven. I don't know what percentage. I would say maybe in my experience, maybe less than 10% of Canadians have gas ovens, like a gas stove, probably 1%, 1 or 2% of Canadians actually have a gas line to their house, and then they can bake a cake with natural gas or cook, food on their stove with natural gas, like with a real flame. Because, most of the time, it's, at least here in Canada, it's electricity. It's an electric oven, an electric stove top, right? So imagine if you ran out of sugar. That's your reason you can't make the cake, right? But it wouldn't have mattered. Even if you did have sugar, it wouldn't have mattered because the power went out. Okay, so you could say we wouldn't have, well, you could say this. Even if we had sugar, we wouldn't have been able to make it anyway because the power went out. Does that make sense? Even if we had sugar, okay, there's two hads here. This is not a mistake. This is correct. Even if we had sugar, we wouldn't have been able to make it anyway because the power went out. Okay, does that make sense? I've made a video, guys, about had before. I think I made a video with 4 hads. Sometimes you can have 4 hads in a row. Had, and it's great English. It's wonderful English, guys. Look at this example. The success he had no effect on his miserable love life. Okay? So here we have 4 hads in a row. Had. This is correct English. Okay? I've made a video about this years ago, I think. If you want me to make another video about it, let me know down in the comments. I'd be happy to. But the success he had no effect on his miserable love life. Okay, so just wanted to put that in there, just to kind of tickle your brain a little bit. And so the pronunciation, listen to the way I'm pronouncing this. The success he had no effect on his miserable love life. The success he had. The pronunciation of these are a little bit different. Usually, if you see 2 hads side by side, the first had is shorter and the second had is longer. The success he had, right? Had. It's a bit of a different sound. Why? Because this one is a helping verb. This is the main verb. Okay, if you see 2 hads side by side, the first one is the helping verb. The second one is the main verb. That's not the purpose of this lesson. I just wanted to kind of take a bit of a detour and talk about this. But let's get back to the purpose of this lesson and talk about this sentence. We wouldn't have been able to make it anyway. Or you could say I wouldn't have been able to make it anyway, or they wouldn't have been able to make it anyway. So let's talk about the World Cup. The World Cup is coming to Canada next year. 2026 is next year. Right now it's 2025. So in the World Cup, there are groups, right? You start off, with different groups, and each group has 4 teams, and each of those teams play each other until they find out who is the winner of the group, who gets the most points. Okay, so then the top 2 teams go through to the next round, and the bottom 2 teams, they lose. They're out of the World Cup. They get knocked out of the World Cup. Okay, so imagine these 4 teams in a group. So let's say after each team has played 2 games, let's imagine this would be the score. This would be the number of points. Okay, if you win a game, you get 3 points. If you lose a game, you get 0 points. And if you draw a game, you get 1 point. Okay, so we can see that Canada has 1 win and 1 draw. So they got 4 points. Japan has had a win and a loss, Peru has had a win and a loss, and Germany has had a draw and a loss. So, is it possible for Germany to still make it through to the next round? What do you think? Is it possible? Well, if they win their next game, right? Because each team has only played 2 games. They still have 1 left. If Germany wins their next game, they would have 4 points, right? They would have 4. But what happens with these ones? Are they going to get more points? Well, we have to wait to find out. We have to wait to watch them play. What if Germany ends up with 4 points? Let's say Germany wins their next game, and let's say, these 2 teams don't get any points. Well, that means Germany has 4, and Japan and Peru only have 3 each, right? That means Germany and Canada would go through. Or imagine these 2 teams, let's say they draw, and they get 4 points. Well, then, Germany and Peru and Japan would all have 4 points, right? And then it would come down to goal difference. Whoever has scored the highest goals goes through, even though their points are the same, right? So, yeah, theoretically, it would be possible for Germany to still advance to the next round, but they need to win, and they need both of these teams to either lose or draw, right? So they need another result. They need to win. That's one condition. But they also need something else to happen in order to go through. Okay, so now let's imagine Germany, they didn't win, they lost. Okay, so then we could say this. Germany lost, but they wouldn't have made it anyway because Peru won. Okay, does that make sense? Germany lost, but they wouldn't have made it anyway because Peru won their match. So there are 2 different matches happening here. Germany is playing someone, and Peru is playing someone. Germany needs to win, and they need Peru to lose their match, right? So, we could say, Germany lost, but now we're imagining if they had won. That's why we're using the word would. But they wouldn't have made it anyway because Peru won their game that they were playing. Does that make sense? So in this situation, we use this kind of English, okay? Wouldn't have made it, or wouldn't have been able to make it. Okay, so, notice, you don't have to use the word be able to sometimes. You could say this, they wouldn't have made it. But if you use the word been able to, then you have to say make, not made. We're talking about 2 things where one thing renders the other thing a dead possibility. Okay, it couldn't have happened. This is what we're trying to get to, right? You are trying to get to the wedding over here. Guys, I need some water. I chose a bad career, guys. English teaching. Man, English is just the weirdest. English is a hard language, guys. If you're learning English, you're doing great. Keep it up. Even I find English hard sometimes, guys. So, you're trying to get to the wedding, right? Now, imagine if something happens here that throws your plan into question. Like maybe you get a flat tire, right? You're driving to the airport, you get a flat tire, or your car breaks down. Now you're wondering, will I be able to make it to the wedding? But then you find out that something else happened and this thing makes it definitive that you can't go to the wedding. This thing makes it totally confirmed that you will not be able to get to the wedding. Does that make sense? So it doesn't really matter that this happened, but we're talking as though we're still here. Like now, now imagine this is in the past, and now you're talking to your friend here about the past, and you're saying, I wouldn't have been able to make it anyway because this happened. Okay? Something happened here that threw my plans into question. But I wouldn't have been able to make it anyway because of this. Does that make sense? I know this is a bit confusing, but this is why English grammar is so important, because it communicates ideas. How do we express concepts, especially about time? This is why verb tenses are so important in English. Like, let me know in English, how would you express this idea? I mean, now you know the right answer because I told you. I wouldn't have been able to make it anyway because this happened, right? You know the right answer. But before this lesson, how would you have expressed this idea? Because in my experience, most English learners might say something like this. We can't make it also because the flight is cancelled. Okay, we can't make it also because the flight is cancelled. Wait, is this right? No, because we're talking about something in the past. Okay, you can't use present tense verbs, can't and is. No, if we're talking about a past event, we have to use past tense verbs, or we have to choose the words that help to build a certain idea. Okay, so you can't say this. We can't make it also because the flight is canceled. No, because that's in the past. Right, here's our timeline here, right? This is all in the past. So we have to use the word would. And in this situation, you have to use be able to. Okay? And make it. Okay? We wouldn't have been able to make it anyway. Now, the word anyway is because it shows a relationship between these two events. Okay? Even if you had fixed the car, right, you wouldn't have been able to make it anyway because the flight got canceled. Does that make sense, guys? I know it's hard, you know. This sentence could have different meanings because of the word make it. The words make it. It could be to make something, like a cake. It could be to, you know, succeed, or to, you know, to survive. You know, different things. You might have to watch this video a few times. And if you want me to make more videos on this type of, like, these concepts, how to express a certain concept in English. This is very advanced stuff, guys. You know, most English learners, like I said, would totally mess up their English to try to describe this. They would, like I said, they'd say we can't make it also because the flight is canceled. No, like, you know, it's a good try. Sometimes it's okay you make a good try and you fail. That's all right. It's okay to fail. We learn and we grow. That's why I'm trying to explain this to you, this certain concept. And we run into, like, this is a common occurrence, right? In your life, you've been in situations like this where you need to describe what happened here. Okay? You're talking to someone. And it's my job as a teacher to try to give you the language to teach you how to build a sentence and why we're choosing certain words to put the whole sentence together to communicate this idea. Okay? So, try to practice, guys. For your homework, I want you to tell me about something that you wouldn't have been able to do anyway because something happened. Something else happened. And so you wouldn't have been able to do it anyway. Maybe you wouldn't have been able to graduate anyway. Maybe you wouldn't have been able to, go hiking anyway. Maybe you wouldn't have been able to anything. You wouldn't have been able to visit your friend anyway. You wouldn't have been able to. You wouldn't have been able to survive anyway. Man, like it could mean. This sentence could mean different things because of the word make it, okay? But also, this sentence could be used to talk about so many different kinds of situations. There are a lot of situations where, you wouldn't have been able to make it, meaning arrive or succeed or attend a wedding or a function, all that stuff. So guys, I hope this isn't super confusing. Just try your best. Try to make a sentence down in the comments and I will tell you if it's right or wrong or how to change some things around to make it right. So anyway, guys, there it is. Thank you so much for joining me in today's lesson. Hope you're doing great. Hope you're staying safe, healthy, and happy. As always, I love you very much. And I'll see you over in the next episode of Mad English TV. Take care.